Hello everyone and welcome to the Outspoken Artist. My name is Jean Carlo and today I decided to do things a little bit different. For this episode, I took a trip down to Armature Works in Tampa where they were hosting the monthly event Rides by the River. There I got a chance to talk to my good friend John Mauro, who is a racing performance coach. I hope you enjoyed the episode and the change of scenery. John, thank you for joining me this morning. Can you tell everybody a little bit about you? I believe you were a race car driver in the past. Care to share a little bit about that?
Sure. Again, my name's John Mauro. I'm with Mauro Motorsport. I'm the guy that started a niche healthcare company at 19 years old, and it did quite well. We're currently the second largest in America. I was looking for a second career, kind of a thing to occupy my time. At the time, I honestly thought it was just going to be a hobby. I bought a Porsche 911. I took it to the racetrack, and I had a professional coach that was assigned to me. Because when you take that kind of car to the racetrack, they want to know you know how to handle it and you're not going to wreck yourself or other people. And we had a really successful weekend. He invited me out to another weekend. And after that second weekend, he says, we need to get you into a race car. And so I thought long and hard about it. And I believe in the power of yes. I think that nothing good comes after saying no. But a lot of new memories and a lot of new achievements and accomplishments come after saying yes. And so, I bought a Porsche 911 race car, got with Right Motorsport, and we did quite well. And I did that for several years. We won a Porsche GT3 Cup championship. That opened up some doors in Europe, and it was a very successful career.
What parts of Europe did you get a chance to race?
Oh my gosh, all over. The team I was with, QSR Racing, they were headquartered in Belgium, Brussels. And but I mean, I've raced Spain, I've raced in England, I've raced Belgium. Obviously, Spa is probably my favorite track. I can never pronounce it, Spa Francorchamps, something like that. I can never. Got to be French. It's on the French-Belgium borders. I don't know. But I mean, obviously, Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, Daytona. So we've been to a lot of very famous tracks, and everybody always wants to ask me, "What's your favorite track?" And I know it sounds cliche. But my favorite track is the next one. It really is. There are tracks that are more historic than others, and others that are smoother and better kept than others. But when you have a love and a passion for it, you just want to be there.
No, that makes sense. Any fond memories of any other races that you had, either in Europe or here, that you might recollect and tell us about?
You know what? Racing is such a family, and you hear a lot of race car drivers and a lot of racing team members talk about that. Even in the paddock, you may be competitors on the track. Even if they put you on the wall, it's not your favorite thing. Accidents do happen. You just don't want them to do it on purpose. But it is such a tight-knit group. You share a deep passion for the same thing. So a lot of my best memories are the friendships I've created and the family environment within the team. The mechanics, the car chief, the data AC engineers. Those are some of my best memories because it just really touches the heart. I have favorite passes. I have made some passes that I've gone back and looked at on tape, and I was like, well, where did that come from?
Nice.
And when it's an instinct pass, and we call it seeing the track, right? When you can see the track and see the window, it's about being a visionary leader. It really is. You have to think about this. You're doing 150, 160, even 130 miles an hour. You've got to be looking seconds up the road, and you have to predict what others are going to do. And that is the challenge for me. Racing is the hardest thing I've ever done because you're calculating so many things and probabilities and this and that, and there's an emotion to it, and it is so hard, but it is the most peaceful moments I ever have.
Wow. What auto entails in order to be successful in the track? You have to have a great team behind you. What is the logistics to prepare for a race? What does that normally look like?
It's a great question, and now it's different than before. Before it was about talent, vision, raw. It's what we call the butt dyno. It's what your butt feels, transmits to your head transmits it to your feet, your brake pedal, your gas pedal, your hands. There's a lot of little nuances. One of the things I like to talk about as far as driving a car, you can push a steering wheel to a left-hand turn, or you can pull it to a right-hand turn. If I could use both hands, I could demonstrate a little bit better. So you can push with the top hand and pull with the bottom hand. And there are turns that take different techniques, just like dragging the brake and how much brake pressure you use. the input on the apex, hitting your apex. I've literally, one of the worst accidents I ever had, I literally missed the apex by a 1/4 inch, lost the rear end, slapped the wall, came back across traffic. Yeah, it was a painful experience.
All because of that small little difference.
Literally a 1/4 inch.
Wow.
I put a 1/4 inch in the dirt. I lost traction there while the other rear wheel was in the Porsche, and while the other drive tire was driving, it just drove me right around.
Wow.
So there's a lot to it. You know, nowadays, to be specific to your question, you spend a lot of time on the simulator preparing for a track. You race the track now, and you couldn't do that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. You know, so the mental prep, you know, preparing the brain so the body can follow. Because again, we're making decisions like that, and we're making them 3 seconds before we have to make them.
Wow. Especially if you have that 1/4 inch difference. How realistic are the simulators compared to the track? Is that a 1-for-1, or is there still a difference?
They are so accurate, all the way down to the cutouts in the fence for the TV cameras. My favorite thing is coming through what's called the carousel at Mid-Ohio. Right before you get onto the front stretch there's a bump. If you hit it right, you're hitting that bump. Just like that. It's a little indentation in the road. And this is before they repaved it. And I was surprised that the bump was in the simulator.
Huh.
So they have done their due diligence. They have done their due diligence in making these tracks very accurate.
Oh, that's great. Are there any simulators here in Tampa that people can look for or find?
I've heard of one recently, a local establishment that will, they've got racing sims and they have racing leagues and things like that. But a lot of people will like use their Xbox and other similar game consoles. And it's just online racing.
Wow. That's crazy. How much has changed from the butt? What do you call it?
The butt dyno. That's what the butt feels.
Butt dyno. I like it. Now, behind us is one of your cars. This is a 22 Ferrari F8.
2023.
23. Sorry, 23. Tell us a little bit about why you chose this car. We can talk about the Lambo afterwards, but what drew you to this car, this beautiful car, and what have you done with it, modification-wise?
You know, one of the most common questions I get regarding the personal cars for the street, because I have the Lamborghini Evo also, and they're like, you know, which one do you like better? Which one has whatever? You know, what's the better car? What's whatever? I can say this: nobody does fast like Ferrari. This car, it will hug the curve. It's very intuitive. You get a lot of feedback through your feet, through your bottom. Visually, the steering wheel is on point. It's very balanced. Nobody does fast like Ferrari. Not that you should be driving that fast on the street. I just want everybody to know, you drive 20 miles an hour or faster in the state of Florida, they can take you to jail. So I don't encourage it. Go to a racetrack. Go to an autocross. Those are the safest events to get into a car like this. Or your Civic, your Mazda, your whatever. If you have that need to learn, anybody can grip the wheel and drive straight and try to mash the gas and mash the brake. That's not driving. I say that there's a difference between, in my case, when I first started, I said that I could drive a race car fast, but I wasn't a fast race car driver. Huh. It took years to develop that skill, and it was a very proud moment for me to be able to reflect back upon a race, and I can say, oh, now I'm a fast race car driver. I just don't drive cars fast. And so there is definitely a skill to it, and there is a market out there for people to get better, to have a private coach such as myself, and it's safe. And I tell this story a lot. My daughter started driving 100 miles an hour when she was 13 years old. And she was coming through the mountains of Tennessee recently. She goes to college at the University of Kentucky. But she's been behind the wheel of a car or a racing go-kart since she was 13 years old. It was during the fall, and some of the oil and whatnot from the leaves coming through the mountain, there was a little bit of a sheen on the road because it rained lightly. I was on the phone with her. And all of a sudden, she's like, oh, getting all excited on the phone. And I could tell through my experience that something was happening. She'd hit a slick spot on the highway doing 80, whatever she was doing, 70, 80, 85. And she actually spun the car, got control of it again, and drove off. And then she was like, oh, yeah, did you hear that, Dad? I did that. But there's a safety to it. Even if you're doing the speed limit, there's a safety to it.
That's good. That's a great story.
by your daughter, and I myself had celebrated when I spun out and got out of it, and at the times I really screwed it up because of I had a Mustang. Mustangs are so front heavy that you hit an oil spot and then you just you spin.
Inertia takes over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So the Ferrari, the F8.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what has been done with it. Have you done anything to this one just yet? I know the Lambo has some modifications. Not many, but just tasteful ones.
Mm-hmm.
What about this guy?
So this is all personal preference, right? I think that I feel very firmly that when you turn your car on, that car should turn you on.
Okay. Good
Both
point.
my cars turn me on when I turn them on. And the beauty, there's an artwork to both of these cars. They're both very different. I consider the Lamborghini to be more raw and direct, and this is finesse. But it doesn't mean that this car just can't get down and get at it. It can. But I think from a visual beauty perspective, you look at the lines, you look at how it captures and reflects light. I've had people say that it looks like it's doing 100 miles an hour sitting still. I think that's a huge compliment. But I think that Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, Porsche, there's a lot of manufacturers out there that'll make a high-end car, or really even the Corvette, the Camaro, the Mustang. I think, when you start talking about aerodynamics, there is a shape of beauty to it. And visually, I just really like the Ferrari. I like it a lot. And the way it captures and reflects the light, it almost changes the colors of the car. This car is Grigio Ferro. It's a rare color. You have to special order it. And I just like how it captures and reflects. The beauty of the car almost from every angle. And I don't want this to sound arrogant, but I've had this car 3 months. It's got 7,000 miles on it. I drive my cars. But I still come out to a parking lot and still feel thankful to have it, to feel blessed. I look at it and sometimes I just have that self-reflection of, wow. Humbly, I'll say. Humbly.
Oh, that's good. And that's kind of how we met because of...
True.
Yeah. We actually met here.
Right here, right over there.
Yeah, we met over there.
Yeah.
We're surrounded by all kinds of vehicles. We have Porsches, we have Ferraris, we have McLarens, you name it. They're all over the place. Tell us a little bit about your experience in this type of setting or the car culture setting. How has that been for you? I'm going to try to portray this delicately. There are people that'll drive these cars or buy these cars for a status indicator or an arrogance, we'll say. And they won't drive them. I met a guy the other night, kid you not. He came up to me at a restaurant. He saw the car in the parking lot. He just figured it was mine. I don't know how people figure out that was my car, but I don't know. Maybe I just exude that. I don't know. And he says, I got a 458, and it's 2015, and it's got 5,000 miles. Oh, you've had that car 8 years, and you have 5,000 miles? I've had this one 3 months, and I got 7,000 miles. And there's a lot of the purists, the exotic purists, that'll look down their nose at you for that. And I like to say that I look for an emotional return on my investments. And I've had a couple of near-death experiences, and I did break my neck in 8 places while being a race car driver. That's what ended my career. So I don't have to look far for inspiration to live well today. And so that's what it's about for me is we did a show last Monday, a car show last Monday. It was a nighttime show. The highlight of that show was a little boy had walked up, a little blonde-haired boy, walked up to the car, and he was like, literally just awestruck and just in his own little trance. And his father was with his other brother who was older, I think a young teen. And I opened up the car door. I said, you can sit in it and stuff like that. And the kid just went right at it. And the dad's like, no, in slow motion. I'm like, bro, it's okay. It's cool, And this is why I have these cars. Right.
I grew up in a tough economic environment. It's not where you start. It's where you finish. And I think that one of the most valuable things you can do in this world is give back and inspire. And those moments where I said, go ahead and sit in it. And he was sitting in it, and the steering wheel was like right here, right? And I said, his dad's getting ready to take a picture, but you couldn't see the Ferrari logo embroidered into the seat. And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to put your feet on the seat and kind of get your head near the logo so when your dad takes the picture, you want to know what it is. That's why you're taking a picture. And it's not an arrogance. I think there's a pride to that. And his dad's like looking at me like, you're not letting him put his feet on your seat? And I said, buddy, in simplest terms, The gas pedal's on the right, the brakes on the left. It drives like any other car in the world. And he says, but it's not any other car in the world. But again, you never know who you're inspiring.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's what I like about my cars. I drive people's dream cars, and I hope my dream cars inspire other people to dream, because that's what it's all about.
No, that's great. And to that story, following that picture, then the father and the other son, you had them sit on that side.
Yeah.
And the teenager, you can tell he really wanted to get in the car. He really wanted to get in there. And he went ahead and sat on the driver's seat, and the father and the younger son sat on the other one. They took a picture, and I think that made their night.
It did. It did. I mean, it was nothing they were going to ask me to do. A lot of people are very humble when they come near the cars. So I try to open the cars up to them, not just visually, but with access, touch, feel, start the car, rev the motor, stuff like that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was a great story. Little boy, and that's not the only one. We've had a lot of different instances where kids come up to the car and you let them sit in it because you're hoping that maybe it creates that spark. And I've seen that not everybody is like that in these gatherings. Some of them have unfortunately created a perception of what a typical owner of one of these cars is and presents himself. What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions about some of the owners like yourself?
Oh, my goodness. This happened not long ago. I was in this car coming up to a stop sign. It was a four-way stop, but there's only two cars. Me and a soccer mom coming this way. And I'm just using soccer mom, as just as a liberal description. She was in a gray minivan, and she was coming at me, and I was coming at her. We got to the stop signs about the same time, and we're facing each other. And I'm not driving fast. I'm not revving a motor. I'm just driving the car normally. And as we were passing each other after the stop signs through the intersection, she'd rolled down her window, and she'd reached out the window and was flipping me off.
For no reason.
I mean, that's her own bias, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's her own bias. That's her own negativity. That's her own self-reflection. That's her own insecurity. And I'm like, you don't know me. And I get it. There's a lot of men and women or whoever that buy these cars, and they have an inflated ego, or they have an inflated look at me kind of portrayal. And I know a lot of people that say, "Oh, get away from my car! Don't come! They don't want you within 5 feet of your car." But when that woman did that, I mean, don't think it doesn't hurt my feelings. It does hurt my feelings. It's like, you don't know me. Why are you judging me? But I'll be at a gas station, and somebody will like, oh my gosh, it happened the other day. I was on the phone, and at the gas station, guy's knocking on my window. He's like, can I take a picture of your car? I'm like, oh my gosh, absolutely. But the fact that there's people that have that abundance of respect because they recognize, what it is. It's an exotic car. It's rare. It's a dream car, things like that. And so I got off the phone right away, and I try to get out, and I try to talk to as many people that want to talk and ask questions about it and stuff like that. So I try to be very accessible. I think that there's enough mean people and standoffish people in the world. The world doesn't need me to be that guy. Not that guy. I like to be that guy. Capital letters and exclamation point. I don't want to be that guy. Lowercase letters, period.
I'll make sure to put that guy.
That guy, not
all in
that
capital.
guy.
No, that's great. And again, that's how I met you. We met you over there by the river, and you were just very open, very friendly. I was photographing your car at the time, and the rest is history. It's been, I don't know how long. It's been before COVID, I believe. That's when I first
That was
met you.
before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too. I think quality finds. Quality finds quality. I think in the universe you get what you give, right? And if you give nice and you give quality, you give sincerity, you give honesty, you give loyalty, I think that's the only time you can expect those things in return.
No, it's true. I would agree. Quality does attract quality. I'm going to ask you a question. I wasn't going to ask it, but I'll ask it because it comes up every time we're out here. But maybe we can put it on record so people may understand. What would it take for someone to achieve getting a car of this stature? What would they need to do in regards to, obviously, hard work is one of them. What is something that people can do to better themselves, improve themselves, to get to a point where they can comfortably afford a car like this?
You know what? I shared that I'd started a healthcare company, a niche healthcare company, when I was 19 years old. I've never once tried to make money. Not once. I've always tried to be the best at what I did. And I saw a bumper sticker. This is a little embarrassing. I don't know that I've ever really shared this story.
Okay.
I saw a bumper sticker once and it said, "My tastes are simple. I only like the best." And I mean, I might have been 16 or 17 when I saw that bumper sticker. And it's funny what can inspire you in the world. And I've got a lot of stories of things that have inspired me throughout time and throughout, me being accomplishment driven. That's what I try to say. I try to say I'm accomplishment driven. I'm not money motivated. I'm not flashy to that regard and throwing money around. That's just not me. Just be humble.
Right.
Act like you've been there. Act like you belong there. But for me, I've never been money focused. I've always been accomplishment driven. I've always wanted to be the best. And when you're the best at what you do, you don't have to apologize. And when you're the best at what you do and you're genuine, sincere, and loyal, the people you do business with, they're going to talk about you. They're going to grow your business because they like your brand, right. Your human brand, not the what can you do for me brand, your human brand. If people like you, think about this. When's the last time you bought a car from somebody you didn't like? Salesman comes up, he's pushy and he's arrogant and he's you're like, all right, see you later. You're turned off. Be likable. When you go to the McDonald's drive-thru, find something nice to say. Make eye contact with people on purpose. Give them a compliment. Practice being nice, because I think all too often the world can be mean around you and we close ourselves up. We look down. We are told not to have the self-confidence to say hi to people. And you know what? I just want to have those types of abundance. People may look at this and they may think it's excess or abundance. That's not how I measure it. I measure abundance from the heart.
Wow. No, that's great. That's really great. I would agree with that, John.
Thank you.
And curious, you mentioned you do coaching nowadays. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what does that involve? What kind of steps do you take a potential prospect that wants to get some coaching? Let's say they bought a 911 or they bought some other vehicle and they want to they have a really great Civic and they want to take it to the racetrack.
Great.
What does coaching with you normally look like?
I love coaching. If racing is a 10, coaching's a 9.5 or higher for me. I love coaching. I love helping other people find their goals and find their accomplishment. And when people come to me with coaching, there's always something to learn. Just like I have people that coach me at the racetrack. I've got data acquisitions people, I've got engineers, I've got people that still coach me at the racetrack. And that's how you get better, and that's how you maintain your good habits. Coaching is a blast. In almost every situation, the car is more capable than the driver. It's the driver's job in racing to take the time out of the car and put it onto the track. And if you're a really good race car driver, a car is measured at 10 tenths. 10 tenths is getting everything out of the car. The great race car drivers, they can get 11 tenths and 12 tenths. They can take the car farther than what it was designed to perform at. And that is a mark of greatness. But in the everyday life, in a coaching position, I could take anybody in a Civic R, a Mazda Miata, whatever the case may be. It could be a McLaren P1. I've coached somebody in a McLaren P1, a couple $1 million car. And the car has a time, it has a capability, but getting the driver to feel confident in that car. So my job as the coach to sit in the right seat and coach the person driving. Let them know, first of all, obtain their confidence. And you do that with compliments, and you do it with confidence, and you do it with rapport. You do it in trying to learn what their language is. Some people are visual learners. Some people are audio learners. And so, there's different techniques of being a good coach. But what I was talking about, top hand, going into a turn, or using pushing or pulling the steering wheel. How you brake. Braking is where championships are won. But the simplest form of driving is just driving. Performance driving is completely different. It's a different mindset. You touch the brakes different. You touch the gas different. You look at the street differently. Usually, before a race, the week before a race, I would late break stop signs and stoplights. Oh, this goes back a few years, So instead of just like lifting and coasting and then tapping the brake and just kind of easing into the brake, I'd stay in the gas.
Nice.
Just getting my mind ready. And, and then I would, I wouldn't 10 tenths the car,
but I was simulating in my head what I'm going to experience at the racetrack. I'm trying to redevelop my habits. I didn't race. I didn't race. I didn't grow up racing. So I really had to work at my craft to get better. And I had to use every opportunity. When I'm walking or jogging a trail, I would apex the turns while I was walking. Because you have to instill it as a habit, right? But again, in everyday driving, you can apply those same techniques, especially if you don't know what they are. Late braking alone will get people's heart thumping. Just get them thumping. The point of that story of the late braking is I was coming up to a stoplight, and I'm like, boom, downshift, boom, downshift, boom, downshift, late braking, late braking, late braking. There was a cop in a gas station. He pulled me over for it.
Oh, boy.
It just so happened I had the national championship trophy in the back seat at the time. I was coming from the race shop. And I said, bro, I hope you've never heard this excuse before, but he let me go with a warning.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's a great story. And to your point, I guess coaching, not only is it going to help you in the race course, or in the track, I should say, it can help you build confidence in yourself. And in the case of your daughter, it can actually help you potentially get out of a bad situation when you're
Very
driving.
true. Yes. Yeah. The other thing about coaching, or performance driving, we'll say it, right? Or even defensive driving. It's about vision. It's about being in the moment. How many times at night do we see somebody driving without brake lights?
True.
Because they have daytime running lights, and they have. My pet peeve is, why do manufacturers manufacture a car with daytime running lights and leave the interior dash lights on? If you would leave those interior dash lights off, people wouldn't drive without tail lights. They would actually have to turn the lights on because the dash would be the indicator. But the visual awareness in your surroundings, that's what performance driving is like. It heightens your sense of awareness. That's what it's like, and I think everybody should go through it. I really strongly feel that way.
And for anybody that's interested in getting coaching from you, John, how do we find you? Where can we find you? Where can they go?
It's very simple, and thank you for sharing that. My name is John Mauro. My email address is john@johnmauro.com. Or you can go to our website, mauromotorsport.com. We have a QR code where you can get some more information about myself and some of my career accomplishments and how to reach out to me for some track time. And it's not just a Sebring, a Daytona, and Atlanta. We do autocross coaching, which is a big parking lot, and they put cones out, and it's a closed course. A lot of times it's like in a college parking lot or like a shipping logistics company parking lot, things of that nature. But it's exhilarating. You are going to hard brake. You're going to nose plant that car, and you're going to hard accelerate. And that's something that most people in this world don't do. The first thing I did with my daughter when she was 12, and I was first introducing her to a car, we were in a Mercedes AMG in the high school parking lot, set up some cones, and I said, I want you to have a firm grip on the steering wheel, and I want you to hit the gas pedal until it touches the pavement, not the floor. And I'm videotaping the whole time. And we did it so often, she wasn't scared of it anymore.
That's great.
And then we moved to the braking. And now I want you to try to touch the pavement with the bottom of your foot. I want you to hit that brake so hard. And then we did it and did it and did it until she wasn't afraid of it anymore. The 16-year-old that's never driven, that's the person that scares me. The 16-year-old that has never had to mash the brake to get out of a bad situation or to accelerate to get in front of somebody on a merging situation because there's 4 cars behind them. You can hit the brake and get behind the 4th car in line, or you can hit the accelerator and get in front of everybody. And sometimes the accelerator is the right thing to do.
I saw that when we were driving about a week and a half ago, where people are trying to take video. That's the other downfall
Yes.
that he explained to me, that when you're actually driving these cars, one of the biggest hazards are people that are so excited to see the car. They're wanting to take a picture or they're trying to record the car, and they veer into your lane, and you had to...
Yeah. They'll have their hand on the steering wheel, and they'll have their cell phone out like this, and then they'll kind of veer into you. And that's dangerous. So again, that spatial awareness. But the other thing that happens is I'm at a stoplight. I usually leave 3 or 4 car lengths in front of me because there are times I have to lurch myself forward. People will take their cell phones, look out their front window, and they'll be recording or taking pictures, and the depth perception is different through the lens of your phone than it is through your natural eye. and they're not braking. And so I have taught myself to leave 3 to 4 car lengths to the car in front of me so I can lurch forward if I have to, and I've had to.
Well, John, are there any questions that I could have asked you that I didn't do that you think would be worth asking?
I'm not self-reflective like that.
Okay.
You know, I just try to be the best I am every day. And you know, my daughters, you know, they always threaten to write a book of dad's cliches, even though some of them aren't mine. And, you know, be quick but don't rush. You know, be the best you can. You know, if you wake up tomorrow morning, it truly is a gift. It's your obligation to be the best you can that day, because you're not promised the next day. And a lot of people don't wake up this morning. You know, and that's probably something I try to live by the most is, you know, be the person that you want other people to be to you.
Amen, John. And I hope, and I know you will, continue to, you know, get people inspired, see these cars for the beauty of it. And I know you're going to keep these little kids taking pictures around. People can't see it, but they love these cars, and you give them the opportunity to just get a little bit more of an experience with them. And
yeah.
I like that about you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. And we're working against a muffler, but
We can talk a little louder.
I know.
Get in here and talk a little deeper.
It is what it is. We're in a car show. Thank you for
You're
joining
welcome.
me. And again,
Let me say this real quick. Let
Yes.
me interrupt you. You know, you talk about the artwork or the beauty and the artistry of something. You know, I think who you are and how you present yourself to the world is a piece of art. You are your own creator. It is shown in your personality. It's shown in your laughter. It's shown in your patience. It is shown in your ambition. Your life is unique to you. It's no different than a Picasso or a Rembrandt. You are your own Picasso. You are your own Rembrandt. And so your brushstrokes represent your life. So there's an artistry in how we live, and it's through the presentation of who we are every day. That's kind of how I see all this.
no, I will leave it at that. I really like that analogy of we are our own artist, and our paintings can either be beautiful or chaos.
Well stated.
Right.
Thank
John,
you, my friend.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Before I close the episode, I want to say thank you for tuning in. I had a blast talking to John, and if you yourself want to learn more about his coaching or just what he's up to, visit his website and feel free to send him a message. Until then, take care, friends.